You make me all feel like a celebrity. Hi, how is everyone? Well, I personally want to thank every one of the opening acts from day 1 and day 2 of this conference that helped us prepare for our headliners today. So thank you.
Headliners!
In all seriousness, I just want to give a round of applause. Give a round of applause to all of our amazing brand speakers, partner speakers, anchors. It's such a delight to be here with all of you. As Allison mentioned, my name is Shannon Cook. I'm the Director of New Channel Activation at Movable Inc. I actually celebrated lucky number 7 years with Movable Inc. last week, which is an unbelievable feat, and I have been very, very blessed to be the leader of go-to-market strategic initiatives across mobile, push, in-app, and SMS for about the last 3 years. I am so happy to be here with 2 very smart and savvy mobile marketers. So Steve, Ryan, welcome.
Thank you.
Would love for you all to introduce yourself, tell a little bit more about your day-to-day, and since we're all here, it's last session. I know we're, maybe itching to go to the door, but we're all here to have fun. Let's do a little icebreaker. What is your most used mobile app on your phone? So Steve, why don't we start with you?
eBay, no doubt.
eBay.
I buy so much crap on eBay. My wife wants to kill me. There's new packages every day. I buy some of the craziest stuff on there, but I am addicted to eBay. That is the app that gets me.
I think these days it's probably Instagram. I think,
Yeah.
I have to stay away from the reels because I just get sucked in.
Understand.
And
Yep.
Next thing you know, it's 3 in the morning, and
I get it.
where did it all go?
Well, and this is not a plug, but my most used app for sure is Peacock lately because of Scandival. If you know, you know. Yeah, so. Well, let's get into a little bit more. We heard a little bit about your very impressive backgrounds. Can you tell us a little bit about Synchrony as a brand, and then we can double into Care Credit?
Yeah, sure. So Synchrony has a very long history of providing credit and financial services for consumers and financing services for businesses of all sizes. Been around for a very long time, huge customer base across many different verticals, lots of different industries that we're serving. We're number 20 on the Fortune 100 Greatest Places to Work list this year, and have employees all across the country and the globe. As far as mobile, we have 3 native apps that we serve, that we manage in-house. Our Care Credit app, our My Synchrony app, and our Synchrony Bank app. And then Care Credit is part of ours.
Yes, does anybody in this room have a Care Credit card? Anybody? I saw a couple hands. Is that anybody not sure if they have a Care Credit card? So Care Credit it's our health and wellness brand of Synchrony. We've been around for over 35 years. About 10% of the U.S. population have or have had a Care Credit card. We have 260,000 enrolled locations nationwide, and we have about 13 million cardholders. So we really play in vet, cosmetic, dental. Those are our 3 main markets we're in. We're also in some select specialties like the hearing, chiro, some health systems, and then we're accepted at Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens as well. One of the biggest challenges we have within Care Credit is awareness. We need people to understand really what Care Credit is. Because when you think about it, if you're going to get a root canal or something, you're going into the dentist's office, they're not selling the brand. They're saying, here, this is the card that can be used to pay for your root canal. So they think, the consumer right away thinks that card is strictly for their dentist. So that is our job as Care Credit marketers, to try to get them to fully understand the full utility of the card, all the different markets they can, all the promotional financing is used over and over.
Yeah. So knowing that you are focusing, you have 3 native apps. Obviously, Care Credit is, focusing on doubling down on that strategy. I'm curious for both of you, Ryan, maybe we can start with you. Why is mobile marketing so critical, so important to a brand like Synchrony?
I think you've got so much competition in some of your other more traditional channels, email, direct mail. You've got all sorts of tech out there trying to combat spam and fraud. Your legitimate emails are going to get caught up in that. That's a constant battle for us. But mobile with apps, I mean, it's really one of the few truly owned channels. You know, you really, that's a very controlled personal relationship that you have with a user. So, you know, whether it's, you know, push notifications that are appearing on the lock screen, front and center, in-app experiences, whether it's a message center inbox or an in-app interstitial, all very personal ways of interacting with a user, a consumer, that you're not competing. You know, you're not the inbox in your app you own. You're not competing with other brands, other marketers. You're not competing with any inbox filters or things that might be kind of taking over. So it's to leave that out, and you know, not to mention with Gen Z becoming a huge percentage of the market, they're raised on tech, on digital first. They're raised on mobile, and if you're not using that as a channel to communicate with them, you're going to lose them completely.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's a very urgent channel as well, which could be a good or a bad thing, which is why personalization is so critical and so important, in the sense that it's that instant gratification. And like you said, there's not a lot of competition, and you're certainly not hiding from a push notification either. Steve, same question for you specifically around Care Credit. Why do you think mobile marketing is so paramount?
Yeah, I mean, the Care Credit app is just so important for us. I mean, we need that brand recognition out there. Like I talked about earlier, you know, people don't remember us. I'm a Care Credit card holder, and I don't carry the card with me. Most people don't. So that Care Credit app, when you see it on there, it's remembrance that I do have that Care Credit card. So that's very important to us. And I can tell you, you know, we were joking in the back about how tan I am because I have a 2-year-old that I run around and chase around all day at the park. But when he goes to bed, I lay on the couch and I just play on my phone. I go from app to app to app. And, you know, I'll see the Care Credit app and I'll see the badge and I'll remember, oh, maybe I'll go check what that message is. You know, I'm not sitting in my mailbox for 3 hours a day waiting for the next piece of direct mail to come. I'm not sitting there in my Gmail looking for the next email to come, but I am looking at my apps constantly. You know, I look out here right now, and I'm sure there's some people on their phone right now. We are glued to our phone as a nation, so it's really important to get that brand recognition. That's really what we use that Care Credit app for.
Yeah. So, Ryan, across the brands and the native apps that Synchrony owns, what are some of your goals or initiatives for this year? Let's drill it down to 2023. Are they the same? Are they a little different depending on the brand?
I think at a high level, we're trying to add value for those users on a regular basis to bring them back into the apps. You know, we want to provide more than just check your balance, pay your bill, find a provider, right? We want to have reasons for them to come back in. We put so much into getting into the acquisition, getting them to download, install the app, getting them to grant permissions for push notifications, background app access, and all of these things that are core to us being able to communicate with them. But if they're not using the app on a regular basis, it's going to go into deep sleep. The permissions are going to expire. Right. So we have millions of users downloading the apps, but if we're not pulling them back in on a regular basis, they set up auto pay and they forget about it. So we have to have that marketing going on, reminding them about why they got the card, the value of the card or the account that they have with us, as well as just informational and entertaining content. Where we're producing content across all of our different brands, our partner brands, internal brands, and all of that content can be delivered through mobile in some way or form. I mean, we've seen a number of presentations like ESPN taking the same content being used in email and mobile and SMS. All of that can be shared across all these. So we don't have to put in a whole lot of additional work to create mobile specific content. We've got it all.
100%. One thing that you said that I just want to drill down further, Acquisition strategies are anti-churn strategies, specifically in mobile, because it's one thing to get your users to download your app, to opt into push, to opt into SMS, but if you lose them as quickly as you've acquired them, then you're just right back at the beginning. And furthermore, when you think about all of the great work that your product engineering teams are doing to make your app clean and seamless and easy, if they're not in the app, no one's going to see that. And how do they get in the app? From mobile marketing. So I think that's a really good point. Steve, specifically around Care Credit, from a bird's eye view, how are you and your team looking at approaching strategy? And maybe even get a little bit tactical if you like. Is it calendars? Is it looking at some of the email or other own channels and taking it from there? Is it starting from scratch?
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. The app's only as good if you have the app. And we have to be very strategic on what kind of messages we put out there. If we don't truly feel that's value-added content, we're not putting it in the app. I mean, we would hope all of our content is value-add, but I mean, when you think of like an email, for example, when you go in your inbox, us as consumers are prepared to see some spam, we're prepared to see some junk. In the mobile app, you're looking for highly personalized content that is relevant to you. If you are spamming people in the mobile app, they're going to delete your app immediately, and then you're not going to see that app, and we lose that everyday awareness marketing right there. So when we come up with different messages, we use the push notification, we use in-app automated messaging, we use Message Center. So really push and our in-app automated messages are really truly highly valued content. We'll show you some in a few minutes. And then our Message Center, that's kind of like an inbox. You kind of have to navigate a little bit to get to it. So we can put some more of our general type of messaging there because it's less intrusive. But we got to be very strategic on what we push out because we don't want to bombard the customer with it.
Yeah, and is there some sort of strategic weight that you give? I think you bring up a very good point where all of these messaging types are at our disposal, but you can't do the same thing strategically in push versus Message Center. So are there different types of objectives or CTAs that you use push more, or do you think about, okay, this is a better message for in-app? Do you think about it that way?
Yeah. I mean, especially with our push, we try to get really catchy. We're going to look at a podcast that we do. We try to do catchy messages to try to pull people in there. And the topics that we use for push are really more broad topics for everyone. Some more of the general cosmetic type topics we'll put out there because that really can apply to almost anybody. But if we're doing an episode on cats, for example, not everyone owns a cat. So we're not going to push out a cat message to everyone because that would anger people. And when you're talking about some of the AI stuff, that's where we could do some really cool stuff in the future in terms of building these profiles and getting the content to the people that really want it. Yeah.
So Ryan, when Steve and his team come up with these ideas, cat podcast push, right? What happens after that? Walk us through. There's so many marketers here. Some of us are working more on strategic initiatives. Some are working, in our platforms, in our MSPs. So, what does the team look like? What does that process look like? Start to finish. Does it change? Is it different between some of these messaging types?
Yeah, I think we've spent the last year or so trying to template a system for these requests, right? So we have because we have partners like Steve, where it's where Care Credit the app is all about Care Credit, right? And then My Synchrony, we're serving thousands of different brands. So we're trying to template those requests as much as possible to make it easy for a marketing partner to bring those assets to us. And this is when I want it to go out. This is who I'm trying to reach. This is the channel that I want to use. And we'll take those in. They get into our development queue, and we'll build and test. And we get sign-off approvals on everything, and then they get scheduled to go out. But I've tried to keep an open door policy with our marketing partners, particularly Steve, who's been great about coming to us with ideas of,
I come all the time, I really do.
of something else that we'd like to try out, and which is how we got into the campaigns that we've run with Movable Inc. And each one of those gives us a new opportunity to test and learn and develop a new template for a new type of request. and turn those into BAU solutions for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we've gotten, Steve's been a real driving force for us in bringing those in so that we can build them into a brief to be completed and then built out by the team.
Yeah, you both are a powerhouse team. So we've been teasing enough of these campaigns. You guys want to see some? Huh? All right, so we're going to go through a few different campaigns, and again, I'm going to steal something Stephanie used actually in her presentation. Imitation is the best form, sincerest form of flattery. So if you like what you see, or if you have questions about the campaigns, feel free to find either of them. Feel free to find me. We can talk a little bit more about them. But Steve, let's take me from the top. How did this campaign come to life?
Yeah, so this is our Care Experts campaign. It's really a campaign I'm pretty proud of. This was a video series that we had back 2021 that really wasn't performing well. We did everything with email. We pushed it out through email. People just weren't engaging with it. And we kind of rebranded it and brought it through the mobile app, and we utilized push notification and message center to drive audiences with these topics. And what these topics are, people have a lot of questions about different medical procedures, cosmetic, vet, dental, vision. You hear like a nose job, that sounds very scary. You know nothing about it. This is like an 8 to 12 minute podcast where we sit down with a doctor and they talk about these procedures. Our strategy here is that instead of telling somebody, hey, go get a nose job and use your card, no one's going to do that. But if we educate people about it and make it not as less scary, and maybe it does apply to you. So we've kind of taken this approach with our content, and it's really taken off. Last year we had over 275,000 downloads. We charted on Apple and Spotify several times. We reached top 10 in Apple for health and fitness. We got top 150 overall at one time.
That's
so
awesome.
To see a branded podcast like that above like Jon Stewart's podcast and celebrity podcast, it was crazy to see Care Credit up there.
Good personal win for you too.
Yeah.
Right above Jon Stewart.
I know, totally. So, this is continuing to evolve. Ryan could talk a little more about the technical side from it, but, we've gone live with it now. We have doctors that go live, Facebook Live, answering questions live. We do that once every other month. So we've really kind of expanded the series, and mobile's really been a big driver. And it's been very important to keep our consumer engaged. This has really helped engage our consumer with this Care Experts series.
You know what I love about this campaign is, as a marketer, we are always driving towards concrete KPIs. Can we get our MAUs up? Can we get more conversions in the app? What this is doing is saying, how can we help our customers? How can we remind them, either subtly, more directly, somewhere in between, how can we remind them that we are there for them? Yep. This is a lot of editorial content, and sometimes we think about push notifications as very straight, direct, to the point, get into the app, buy this product, sell. But what I love about this campaign and all of the results that you're seeing from it is we're here to help you. Care Credit is here to help you. Let me give you some of that content to lead you through. Yep. Ryan,
and
tell us.
by the way, it had a huge impact on MAUs, those hard.
Well, of course. So when you do some of those things, right, the hard, fast results follow.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that was great with the podcast was it was weekly content.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to worry about needing to build out a calendar.
Right.
It was already being done. It was already being developed. It's going out every week. So it was for us our first real step into consistent marketing through the Care Credit app.
Yeah.
We had some fits and starts and some campaigns around special events and things like that, but nothing that was a continuous stream of content, of engaging the audience, and paid huge dividends in terms of driving the monthly active users.
Yeah.
And as things started to stagnate a bit, and we hit a plateau, we went back in and started testing different delivery systems, using how often we were using push, whether push was going straight into an experience in the app to listen to the podcast, or if it was going into an experience in the app to then go off to the podcast player, or if we went straight into the player. And each one of those, as we tested and removed steps, clicks from the user experience, we got a little bit more downloads, a few more, and and adding in more choice. We went from going, you only have one destination to go listen to the podcast to, you can go to our built-in player, or you can go to Apple Podcasts, or you can go to Google Podcasts, or you can go to Spotify. And adding that level of choice, again, drove higher and higher adoption.
Yeah, giving the customer preference, because we're all individual and unique, but making it seamless no matter what preference they choose.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's
One of the other cool things about this too is, we talk about like influencer marketing and stuff.
Yeah.
We're basically turning our doctors into influencers.
Yep.
They are selling our product. They are talking about what we want to do, and we're making these doctors pretty special. And we've had a couple doctors come back to us and say they got some new patients out of it. They said they had a couple patients come in and say, "Hey, I heard you on the Care Experts podcast. I want to go to you now," which is a cool story to tell.
We didn't expect a KPI to be make doctors more famous than Jon Stewart. Yeah. All right, let's get into this other use case. I love this. I've talked a lot about on stage earlier, but also with a lot of you, visualization, gamification, and that's exactly what this is doing. So walk me through the Let's Get Digital sweepstakes.
Yeah, this is a huge campaign for us. It's our Let's Get Digital sweepstakes. You can earn up to 70 entries with it, and it's a big content driver, basically, to engage with different parts of content. It's not your normal sweepstakes where you go make a purchase and get an entry. We're telling people to go read an article. We're telling people to check out the podcast, go watch a video, do stuff within the mobile app. We're expanding the customer's knowledge of all the products and all the services that we offer at Care Credit, not just make them transact. And the really cool thing here is some of the stuff that you're seeing up here is stuff that we did in email several years ago, and we saw a huge lift.
Right.
And now we can do it in mobile. And it is really cool. The lift, the 960 basis point lift, and click to open. Just really cool stuff. And the one I love the most is the slider with a checklist. It really does a good job of FOMO. They're seeing what they're missing out on, what stuff they still need to do, and they gain entries. I will tell you the one with the slider looked a lot cooler in development until legal got a hold of it. And once legal got a hold of it, they made me add a lot more copy to it than I would have liked. But it still does the job. It does a great job.
Yeah. Ryan, how did your team approach these iterations and these different bills? And it sounds like there was a lot of iterations and legal got involved. So how did your team handle that?
Well, and this was our first time working with Movable Ink in mobile. So that was probably the biggest learning experience for us, was how to get all the data together. We had, not that you can read them here, but there's so many different places where you could earn an entry. All of these different systems and partners that we were working with to collect those entries and record them. So that was probably the biggest hurdle for us from an execution standpoint of getting that all together. Then getting it loaded into Airship as attributes to then be passed through to Movable Ink. And so it was, there was a lot of testing that we had to do, and testing because we're using different channels, in-app automations, inbox, push notifications, all of that. Our testing procedures had to be scaled up quite a bit, making sure that we're testing on different operating systems on iOS and Android, different screen sizes and everything, and making sure that everything looked the way that we wanted it to look once the Movable Ink elements got added in. So it was a learning experience for us, but once we had that under our belt, it was a lot easier to say take on the next one that we'll look at.
Yeah, good segue. So this campaign is fairly recent, a really exciting campaign. We are all familiar with years in reviews, but now as mobile marketing becomes a bit more, it starts to emerge, it becomes a bit more prevalent across our consumers, bringing this into the central place of traffic. So this was such an exciting campaign. Tell us how it came to be.
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of year in review messages this week. A lot of different teams have been sharing different emails, but this is a mobile year in review. So, we do have some of our traditional year in review stuff like transactions, amount of dollars you spent, but we also have different activities that you engage with the content. There's a line in there about, did you listen to the podcast? Did you participate in the sweepstakes? Have you visited Well You? We really wanted to hit home if they engage with our content. And the really cool thing about this is every one of those lines is clickable. So it's not only a year in review, it's also a tutorial to show you how you can do different stuff in the app. So if you want to see how many transactions you made, if you click that number, it takes you to that spot in the app. If you want to see how many different providers you used in this year, it takes you to the provider locator. You can see all the different providers that are available. The sweepstakes takes you directly to sweepstakes. Podcast takes you directly to podcast. It's educating the consumer the power of the app and all the different parts of the app.
Yeah, I think everything was deep links, and we had 2 versions of this. There was one for the PLCC card holders and one for the MasterCard card holders. And again, I think we had learned enough about how we needed to implement Movable Link that making this happen, our time frame was much shorter. We kind of rushed through this one, but we knew what we needed to be able to get the elements together and load it in and fed through. In this case, we were doing everything as URL parameters. To get into the more technical side of things, passing those through as URL parameters to the image URLs, but very easy to implement. Working with just the image URLs and having all of the personalization data loaded in made it really easy to implement, and we saw a tremendous response to it.
That speaks for itself. I mean,
that's the personalization aspect of it, and adding, when we're talking about adding value, when it's personalized, you don't get more value than something that's speaking directly to that individual.
And shameless plug for the Movable Link stuff, but I mean, since we started implementing some of the stuff, our numbers, our mobile app numbers are just continuing to climb. We're giving the personalized message now. We're not bombarding them with stuff that's not useful to them. Messages like this is very useful for a consumer to see. So we're very thankful to be able to bring that kind of technology into our app and really grow that base.
Yeah, we're very grateful and thankful for the very strong and esteemed partnership we've had with Care Credit, Synchrony over the last couple of years. So this was a really fun one to put together. And what I love about this use case, and it is it's a golden thread throughout all of the things that we've seen today, everything comes back to, how am I going to show my customer that the app is central, easy, seamless, and necessary for this customer to engage with Care Credit? So again, we think a lot about selling and pushing products and e-commerce. The cruise line agrees with me. Everything ties back to the app, and we're utilizing Movable Ink in smart, savvy ways to celebrate that. So we have a couple of minutes left. I would love to end by asking you both one final question. As I asked in my session earlier today, where we're at in that mobile marketing path to excellence, and there were a lot of hand raisers for the crawl phase, the walk phase. I had a couple people come up to me and say, is there something before crawl? Is it like just lying on our backs trying to roll over? So we're all starting somewhere. What is advice that you would give to fellow mobile marketers in the room?
You just got to go for it.
I agree.
Just go for it. You're going to have wins. You're going to have, losses. We've had plenty of them. I mean, we've made mistakes, but we've learned from them, and you can see the, progress we've made. And it's a channel you have to be in. Like, if you're not in the mobile channel right now, you're dead. I mean, it is so important to be there because that's where the consumer is. Some of the stuff that we've done in the past is going away. Mobile, and especially for the younger generation, you need to hit that channel hard and just go for it. And you'll be successful at some point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've heard over the last 2 days, we've heard a lot of discussion about getting your data together. And I think that's, regardless of what channel you're working with, that's a critical piece to get sorted out. And I think when sorting that out to integrate with mobile is going to be critical to delivering that personalized experience. But in addition to the personalization aspect of it, whatever you can put in place to have communication preferences, to give the user the ability to say what type of communications they want to get or don't want to get, whether you can infer that based on their actions, or if you can give them a direct line to tell you, to provide that zero-party data. really critical to making sure that whatever you do isn't going to drive customers away. You know, and particularly if you're just starting out doing marketing through your mobile apps, and you know, maybe you've had the mobile app in market for, you know, years now. If you're just going to start sending mobile marketing messaging through it, make sure you give them a way to say, wait, you know, because you don't want to turn them away
Right.
when you're introducing something new. So, you know, be careful at it, and you know, measure the response, and you know, make sure that you're respecting, that you're adding value, right? That you don't want to be just blasting, because
Right.
it is a very personal experience, and it's very easy to turn it off.
Yep.
So just be mindful and respectful of those preferences, and personalize the messaging, because that's really what we as consumers have come to expect from that device that we are willing to take everywhere with us. And the first thing we look at in the morning, the last thing we look at the end of the day.
Yeah. Test, iterate, learn, and just go for it. Thank you both so much. Thank you all for being here. Have a great rest of your day.